Sometimes it really mystifies me when I do YouTube recordings and anything that is pasted out on social media, videos, photographs, and you start a debate and then people get really nasty and you just sort of answer questions and they start to get very accusatorial. There was this one chap that I've just banned from my YouTube channel because he just basically said, oh well, because of your opinion you're not real archaeologist, and it just got really damn right nasty. And because I didn't have time to answer his questions in full, he was saying, oh, obviously I don't know anything. Well, I'm sorry, I've been in archaeology for a lot longer than that person has lived, and I just thought, right, if anyone wants to sort of get nasty and start being abusive, right, then they're gone. That's it. Let's get rid of them. So my last video itself was in regards to the Roman amphitheater at Caerleon. And the one point I was making was that the amphitheater is directly built upon the remains of a bathhouse, a Roman vicus or Roman military style bathhouse, which is outside the western part of the Roman fortress at Caerleon. So if you look at this, if that structure, which was built outside the Roman legionary base, the Second Augustus Legion, that, and say that may have been built, say if that wasn't built straight away when the fort was being built, so put 5 years on, so it was built approximately 80 years AD, it had maybe 2 decades worth of use, and then suddenly this idea of building an amphitheater, right? Well, my point is the amphitheater was not built straight away when the legionary fortress was in its primary usage. That's the point I was making. And most legionary fortresses in Britain have got a set pattern, but in regards to amphitheaters, the set pattern is very, very different. And if you want to look at the amphitheater in Chester, it's more similar to the amphitheater in Londinium, Diva, Chester, and those two examples are very, very different from the amphitheater which is outside Caerleon. So if you want to go like for like, the amphitheater in Londinium is in the middle, is basically in London. It's underneath the Guildhall. Most of it was founded in the 1980s, right? So when you think about it, the amphitheater in Caerleon is outside the legionary walls. The legionary base was being abandoned by around the early part of the 120s. So that was occupied mainly by civilians, and there may have been a small garrison kept on there, we don't know. And then the area where the amphitheater is would have been in the middle of a large sort of vicus, and including what was going on with the legionary base and the reuse there. So that would make a lot more sense. But that comes into throw when the Roman military has left. The other point that I was being really cut at and slagged off with, right, was that the person who was attacking me, right, online, obviously knows nothing about the military, obviously knows nothing about the Roman military. The one thing that we do know is that the Second Augustus Legion would have had a depot in continental Europe and would have had a recruiting sort of outlet as well. That's not in Britain. that's the primary base in continental Europe. The legionary base built at Caerleon was a secondary or a third legionary outlet for the Second Augustus Legion, right? So if we think about this logically, the Roman Legion, Second Augustus Legion, was never 6,000. It was under that, so somewhere like 5,500. So you think about that, and you would have thought that an amount of that would have remained at its primary depot in Europe, right, mainland Europe, and then a larger contingent would have been based at Caerleon, right? Obviously, the US depot, Bestium, the US depot itself is actually still in use when it's a depot. So there's elements of the Second Augusta Legion there, right? So if you want to mix around the different legions, the 20th Valley of Vitrix and Second Augusta Legion and all the rest of it, but it's very, very likely that the legionary strength at Caerleon, for example, it would have been a lot less than 5,000, right? So the argument is that the Caerleon amphitheater would have been perfect for the full legionary contingent of 5,500, which is absolute nonsense. You couldn't have seated more than a few thousand people in there at most, and it's not really making sense that you'd have had an amphitheater like that, which was serving the legionary base. And the other thing as well is we've also got a parade ground north of there, and that's what they would have used to perform, not in a small sort of little arena area, right? So the amphitheater, I believe, back to my other video, is because there's a lot of reused material there, certainly points towards a civilian use, and not a primary military use, and that is my point. But if this person does sort of, I'm not going to mention them because, you know, it's get really childish, can't it? But anyway, I do like to enter into conversation with people, and it's fine, yeah. But when people attack you, and the other thing as well, this is a conversation I used to have with Ross Broadstock. He used to have lots of people like myself who used to attack him, that used to stress him out. Well, I don't really care anymore. It used to stress me out, but the best way to deal with a summer wasp is just to sort of ignore them, and they'll fly away. Or a little fly that can hang around in some other dog turd, because that's what they are. So the point is that what we need to do is keep sort of the conversations very, very constructive, and most people who have replied have been very, very constructive. I really appreciate all of you, except for maybe one or two. So what I want to do for my next video is again look at go back to the Roman sort of road, native trackway stuff that we've been doing. And I'd like to make sort of one statement, that when any military garrisons had moved out, they just left the dealings of building things to the local magistrates, and they would then be basically responsible for the upkeep or building or any roads or waterways, and in many ways more than one, the waterway which flows, the river Usk, which flows directly at Caerleon, is far better for credit and commerce than it would be a gnarly road that needs a lot more maintenance. Moving boats around and quays and so on is a lot easier to maintain than a road. So that is a very important point. I don't want to get too obsessed with roads, but a guy that I do really respect, David Mosley, he said that look at these documents. He's been sending me links, so Thanks, David. And it's just getting around to reading it all. I was just wanted to sort of get some conversation and debate out there at this moment, and that's what I'm doing. And I am working on another book, but obviously that's nothing to do with the Roman period. That's to do with a local history subject, which is in a different locality altogether. So keep those questions, keep those things going. I do read them, but if you don't get a reply, I really apologise, but I just can't find time to do everything. By doing these little sort of talks, and we'll get this one out today. Thank you very much. Keep liking, subscribe, join button. Romans in South Wales book out there. So if you want it, there's a link down below. You can get it from Etsy, eBay, Nickleby's bookshop, Roman Legionary Museum at Caerleon. You can get it at Aberystwyth Bookstall and Connelly. There you go. Thank you very much. Thanks for your continued support. Thank you.